Well, after being very uncertain if we ever going to get this race finished or not, we have finally completed the 2020 Auto Trader Echo Park Automotive 500 from Texas Motor Speedway. And while it did take 4 days to complete, I am very satisfied with the winner of today's race, which I would have never said this a few years ago, but I'm very satisfied with the win. As Kyle Busch today, finally, after a very, very frustrating season, has finally scored his first win of 2020. Yes, you heard that right. Kyle Busch has finally won. Congratulations to Kyle Busch. Anyway, let's go ahead and talk about this race. So at the beginning of the race, we actually got to complete the first 52 laps of the race. So the green flag would drop and Kevin Harvick would dominate the early stages of the race. The first caution would come out on lap number 6 for Chris Buescher. He would wreck off of turn 2, hit the outside wall really hard. He would continue on, but he would get a ton of damage, but a lot of hard work to get that car rolling. We would then go back to green for a few more laps, about 15 laps as a matter of fact, and then off of turn number 2, once again, kind of that same position. JJ Lane at 27 went back into the outside wall really hard, and he unfortunately would be the first car to take casualty and be out at the end of the day. We would actually go back racing on ensuing restart, and the mist started. Yes, the word you're going to hear quite a bit in this episode. The mist hit the racetrack, started hitting the racetrack. We would continue on for about 20, 30 laps. Denny Hamlin on the ensuing restart would actually get out of the group because of the mist. He got really sideways. And then on this lap after Denny Hamlin had his issues, Kevin Harvick, who had probably the best car early stages of the race, he would pound the outside wall really hard. He would go 2 laps down. And then Cole Custer would also go out of the groove, to my knowledge. But the big moment of this race is the rain. You heard that right. We had a 3 or 4 day rain delay because of the mist. We were getting so close certain days. It was like off and on cycles if we were ever going to get this race in or not. But finally, after the mist leaves the racetrack, we got a race in today. And thank God we did, and we got to go back racing. A few laps into the ensuing restart, Kevin Harvick, by the way, had a lot of ground to make up as well. The first major incident of this race would take place, that actually would affect one of the playoff drivers, would take place on lap 61. Matt Kenseth would come up into the front of Denny Hamlin. They would have some contact. Kenseth would get turned because he went up in front of Hamlin. Hamlin ran into the back of him. And Kenseth would sideswipe Bubba Wallace. Bubba Wallace almost got airborne, by the way. He ended up sideswiping, and unfortunately, Matt Kenseth and Bubba Wallace would end their days early. We would go back racing on lap 69, and then a few laps into the ensuing restart, debris would come out onto turn number 4, bringing out the 5th caution of this race. And then we would finish the stage on lap 82. Clint Bowyer, who took the lead after we came back from a 3 or 4 day rain delay, would actually hold off Mark Truex Jr. to win stage 1. So Clint Bowyer, I think this might have been Clint's first or second stage win of the year. So congratulations to Clint Bowyer on winning the first stage of this race. We would go back racing on lap 112, and then we would basically stay green for the next 23 laps. And one of the last caution for an incident would take place on lap 134 for the 51 car of Joey Gase. William Byron looks like maybe had some payback from Bristol, got into the back of Joey Gase, would spin him out, and would get into the outside wall. And then in the majority of the rest of this race, there wasn't much that happened. It was a lot of single-file train racing, a lot of single-file. There wasn't much passing that would take place in the majority of this race. Mark Truex Jr. would actually end up taking the race lead and dominating a majority of the second stage. He looked like a lot of the day had the best car in this race, and he took the lead. And then Kyle Busch would actually end up getting the lead late in the stage because he jumped jumped up Mark Truex Jr. Kyle Busch actually would be a contender at the end of this race. So, like I said, Kyle Busch would win this race. Kyle Busch would end up taking the lead, and he would end up winning stage 2 of this race. And then it became pretty much Kyle Busch versus Mark Truex Jr. And another driver we're going to talk about very soon. In other news, in that part of that race, Kevin Harvick would also have a vibration. He would have to come down pit road in that stage. And Chase Elliott, I believe, would actually end up cutting a tire, to my knowledge, at the end of this race. So that was really, really unfortunate. And then the final stage of this race would become a cat and mouse game between Mark Truex Jr., Clint Bowyer, and Mark Truex Jr., Clint Bowyer, and Kyle Busch for the end of the race. It would come down to a fuel mileage race because Kyle Busch and Clint Bowyer, they decided to stay out because Clint Bowyer, apparently he ran out of gas coming line. Same with Mark Truex Jr. in the previous stage. Truex would come down pit road at the end of the stage. So this would come down between Kyle Busch and Mark Truex Jr. Now, Clint Bowyer would end up passing Kyle Busch at the end of this race about 60 or 70 laps to go in the race. But we already knew that Clint Bowyer was not going to make it to the end on field. So Kyle Busch would get by Clint Bowyer late in this race. Meanwhile, Jimmy Johnson would actually end up blowing up with 56 laps to go. It was really great shame because Jimmy Johnson's running in the top 10 a majority of the race, but unfortunately that would hurt his chances. Meanwhile, Christopher Bell has driven his way all the way up to second of the cars with the fresh tires. He drove his way all the way up there, and we thought it was going to be Mark Truex Jr. versus Christopher Bell possibly for the win. But Kyle Busch, who pitted a few laps earlier, would assume the race lead about 20 laps to go, and it became a cat and mouse game, like I said, between Mark Truex Jr. and Kyle Busch for the victory in this race. Kyle Busch should pretty much play the field strategy game right, and coming off the final corner, Kyle Busch holds off Mark Truex Jr. and a hard-charging Christopher Bell, and Kyle Busch, after the frustration and all the misery that he has went through this year with all the bad luck and just not having a lot of speed, Kyle Busch finally scores his first win of 2020. And let me just say, I usually am not happy when Kyle Busch wins the race, but after all he's went through this year, I am extremely happy Kyle Busch won. Huge congratulations to Kyle Busch on winning today's race. Let's go ahead and go through the race results and talk about the race results and then talk about the NASCAR playoff standings as we head to Martinsville, which is only 3 days away, by the way. So, Kyle Busch won the race. Congrats to Kyle. First win this year. Mark Truex Jr. finished his second. Great run for Mark Truex Jr. Mark Truex Jr., I think, really had the class of the field after Harvick got into the outside wall. He really had a strong car a majority of the race. Unfortunately, because of clean air, Mark Truex Jr. could not pass Kyle Busch, but it is what it is. Christopher Bell comes home with a respectful third-place finish with a really awesome tribute scheme to Bob Levine. Really awesome scheme. Great to see on the track. Really great run. They almost won the race. They had the fastest car at the end of the race. Christopher Bell, third place. Great run for him. Ryan Blaney, great run in fourth. Ran top 10 a majority of the race. Great job for Ryan Blaney. Alex Bowman finishes fifth. Good rebound for Alex Bowman. Brad Keselowski, sixth. Kurt Busch, seventh. Matt DiBenedetto finishes eighth. Denny Hamlin finishes ninth. Denny Hamlin completely struggled in this race. He was about 10th to 15 majority of the night, but because of Picker, he got up to ninth. Great finish for Hamlin, though, but not a good ending of the day. Joey Logano finishes 10th. He's already locked, and so it really doesn't matter to him. Austin Dillon finishes 11th. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. finishes 12th. 13th, William Byron. 14th, Cole Custer. 15th, Tyler Reddick. 16th goes to Kevin Harvick. Kevin Harvick, after his damage, completely struggled, but he rebounded at least to 16th, so at least he finished in the top 20 in this race. Clint Bowyer, after having a pit at the end of the day, after having probably a top 5 car majority of the day, he finishes 17th. Again, very frustrating for Clint Bowyer, but it is what it is. Ryan Preece 18th, Ryan Newman 19th, and Chase Elliott would finish 20th in this race. Eric Jones 21st, John Nemechek 22nd, Eric Almirola 23rd, Ty Dillon 24th, Corey LaJoie 25th, Michael McDowell 26th, 27th place goes to Daniel Suarez, 28th Brennan Poole, 29th Josh Blicky, 30th place goes to Timmy Hill, 31st Garrett Smithley, 32nd Reed Sorensen, 33rd Quinn Houff, 34th Chris Buescher, 35th Chad Fisham, 36th Jimmy Johnson, 37th Joey Gates, 38th Bubba Wallace, 39th Matt Kenseth, and finishing last in today's race is J.J. Yeley. And now let's go ahead and take a look at the point standings to talk about how finally Kyle Busch wins, and we'll go ahead and give the review of this race. Alright, so now let's take a look at the playoff standings. So Joey Logano, we already knew, is locked in. Even though Kevin Harvick completely struggled today, he is 42 points above the cutoff line, so he's looking really strong headed into Martinsville. Denny Hamlin is 27 points above the cutoff line, and Brad Keselowski is the last driver currently in the championship for. He is currently right now 25 points above the cutoff line. Then Alex Bowman, who's the first outside, is 25 points below. Chase Elliott is also 25 points below. Mark Truex Jr., 36 below. Remember, he also got a 20-point penalty for the race even begins. That's why he was this low. And Kurt Busch is 81 points below the cutoff line. Pretty much all four of these drivers are in a must-win situation. Now, looking at below the cutoff line, Chase Elliott and Mark Truex Jr. are two guys that could lock their way in if they can get a win, but they're both going to need to win. But Mark Truex Jr. is extremely strong, and if they had the speed they had tonight, I really think they have a good shot at making the Final Four and taking one of these drivers out, but we'll have to see what happens from here. Anyway, let's just talk about this man, Kyle Busch. Kyle Busch has had a frustrating year. He's been through so much adversity, so much, problems. This car has just not been fast for him. The JGR cars have completely struggled, really, other than Mark Truex Jr. at times, and Denny Hamlin's been dominant, but he's been struggling in the playoffs. Truex been pretty good as well, but Kyle Busch has completely struggled this year. There's no ifs and buts about it. It's been a frustrating year, especially after winning the championship last year. He finally, tonight, gets it done, and I'm really excited for Kyle Busch, and man, after a frustrating year, he has finally done it, and huge congratulations to Kyle Busch on winning tonight's race. The race in general. I thought the race tonight was not very good. It wasn't a fantastic race. You couldn't really pass. It was really hard to battle. My score for the race at Texas, especially after the 4 days of frustration, I am going to say that the race today was a 6.5 out of 10. It's a little higher than I would generally give. A lot of my frustration doesn't go toward the race. A lot of it goes toward the fact that we had to wait 3 days for the green flag to even to drop. But the fact that we're finally done with this race and we're headed to Martinsville in 3 days, thank freaking God. But the score of today, actually, the score of today's race is going to be a 5.5 because of the mist. There you go. So anyway, we're only 3 days from actually Martinsville happening. Yeah, we're really around the corner from the Martinsville race taking place, and I cannot wait for that being the playoff race. Let's talk about the schedule a little bit for the rest of the week. The Kyle Larson going to Hendrick Motorsports video, if you heard that today, Kyle Larson finally going to Hendrick Motorsports. I'm really excited about that. That video will be out tomorrow morning, early before I head off to work, and then the picks will be out Friday along with another video. So I'm a little behind on NASCAR news. I'll get caught up on that tomorrow. Expect that video to be out tomorrow morning. Anyway, that is going to be it for today's video. I want to thank you guys for watching. Please like and subscribe to the channel, turn notifications so you be notified when a video does go live on my channel. Follow me on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Links description below for that. And comment your thoughts on tonight's race. What did you think of today's race? Let me know in comments below, especially after we have finally, after 4 days, completed and Kyle Busch wins. Let me know in comments below. Anyway, like I said, I want to thank you guys for watching today's video, and I'll see you guys next time. Take care, everybody.